Hello and welcome to Nick's Nerd News. This is where you come to listen to breaking news when it comes to the nerd world. That means we have breaking video game news, movie news, and TV news. If you want to hear about the latest games, the latest movies, and everything else, stick around. Because here's your host, Nick, from a tiny studio in San Diego.
Well, hello everyone. What is today? Today is the 23rd of October. We are a week out from Halloween. Well, a week and a day, really. Week and a day, half a day, whatever. It's me, Nick, your host. This is Nick's Nerd News, the podcast that you're all listening to right now about everything in the nerd news world. What am I doing? I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. It's one of those days for me. One of those days where I've been completely zoned out. It happens. How you guys doing? You guys doing good? It's crazy news this week, really. And it's all over the place. Like the fact that a VHS tape is being released in 2024 for a movie that came out in 2024. That Ubisoft disbanded a team that made one of the most highest rated games in the last few years, but is not moving forward with them as a team, and luckily just moved them around to different projects within Ubisoft. But then, Ronald D Moore, the man behind Deep Space Nine, Battlestar Galactica, has joined the God of War show at Amazon Prime Video, so there's some good news too. Also, in a strange twist of fate that no one is shocked by, so is it a strange twist of fate, or is it not? Blade has once again been delayed by Marvel Studios. Yeah, I'm not surprised there. That movie. Will that movie ever come out? We'll discuss it later. But before that, don't forget to go to nixnernews.com, where you can listen to this lovely show right in your browser, or you can take us with you on the go. There's links to our Spotify page, our YouTube page, our Apple Podcast page. Guess what? We're also on iHeartRadio. All the fun places. Also, while you're there, check out our social media tab. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. Threads. TikTok. All of them. All the fun places to be. And yes, YouTube. I know I said YouTube already, but it's a podcast place and a social media place now. So check us out. nixnernews.com. Hope to see you there. So, without further ado, let's get to the news, shall we? All right, what's going on in the video game world? Well, a beloved franchise is getting a fourth installment. It's not what you expect. Bohemia Interactive has used a live studio orchestra, yes, a live studio orchestra, to announce Arma 4. And yes, Arma is getting a fourth game, and it will be released in 2027. Bohemia Interactive is a Czech studio that's been around for 25 years. The concert that was held was mostly to celebrate the 25th anniversary, but they used it to announce Arma 4. It was a blink and you'll miss it. They kind of flashed it, and that was it. And the first game came out in 2006. Arma 3, the last game in the franchise came out almost over a decade ago in 2013, which they also launched Arma Reforger, which is what they call a bridge between 3 and 4, but Arma 4 is coming in 2027. That's wild. Dude, I used to watch Arma videos on YouTube and stuff. Wildest shit I've ever seen. Obviously, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds eventually came out of Arma, and Arma is where a lot of these Battle Royale games kind of built out of as well. So it's lovely to see Arma getting more love. Unity, which is still reeling from the controversy last year around Unity 5 and charging and all the new updates that Unity tried to make, has a new CEO and is launching Unity 6. And Unity 6 is out, and they hope to bridge a new gap that grew with players and users and developers and things like that. Now, Unity is used in Genshin Impact. It's used in Hollow Knight. There was a fee structure change that caused people to leave in droves. The CEO left and cut almost over 1,000 staff last year, closed offices, ended a contract with Weta, and had a net loss of $826 million. January, another 25% of its workforce were cut. That's almost 2,000 jobs. Developers walked away from them forever. Now, a new president and CEO was brought in later in the year, or earlier this year, I should say. And at a new launch event for Unity 6, the new CEO delivered a statement saying, quote, "We want to be a fundamentally different and better company, and I know that we can be. It is what we want. We want to have a fundamentally different relationship with our customers and our community, and we want to develop and deliver products in a fundamentally different way. And that starts with us thinking about it differently and delivering in a different way," unquote. He said a lot of, that was talking in circles a bit. But if they can keep up with this, and he kept speaking and stuff like that, I think maybe they'll be able to bring people back to Unity. Meanwhile, Unreal Engine has just done a lot of its own changes, I think, to bring former Unity devs over to their side. Anyway, one of the biggest stories in television and gaming right now, God of War is getting adapted at Amazon Prime Video. It's gone through a couple reboots and restructuring. Well, it's gone through a restructuring again, and it's completely hitting the reset button. But they are planning to hire. They have planned to hire a new writers' room, a new showrunner. Raf Judkins has left. Executive producers Hawk Ostby and Mark Fergus also wrote several scripts, have also left. But it looks like they have found a new showrunner. And in that, they have hired Ronald D Moore. And if you don't know who Ronald D Moore is, I'm sure you've seen some of his shows. Deep Space Nine, Battlestar Galactica. The man is behind some of the greatest sci-fi programs in history. Now, he has been hired by Amazon and Sony Pictures TV to be the new showrunner of the God of War show that is going to be based around the reboot series of games from 2018. He was also a writer on Star Trek The Next Generation. He was the showrunner, one of the key writers of Deep Space Nine. He was the showrunner of Battlestar Galactica. He also helped create For All Mankind over at Apple TV. And now this is a new multi-year deal he signed with Sony. And Cory Balrog, who is the creative director of Sony Santa Monica, is still an executive producer on the show. And this is amazing news. I love Ronald D Moore. While I don't care for Battlestar Galactica too much, I do very much enjoy Deep Space Nine. And I've seen some parts of For All Mankind, so I know it's great. I think this is a big win for Amazon Prime Video and for Sony TV. So Sony Pictures TV, and I cannot wait to see how this show turns out. Obviously, they want to ride high off the successes of their adaptation of The Last of Us, so we'll see if they can match that high with Ronald D Moore at the helm of God of War. As we stated last week, the Xbox Partner Showcase happened on Thursday, the day after last week's episode. Well, quite a bit was announced and shown off, actually. So, a new game called Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. And if you're wondering, that sounds a whole lot like Black Myth Wukong, you're not wrong. This is also a Souls-like. Yeah, it's coming out sometime next year to Xbox Series X and S, PC. It will be on Game Pass. I don't know if it's getting a PlayStation release. They first showed this off back in June at what was kind of like the fake E3, but we got more of it at the partner program. It looks fun, and the graphics look amazing. They also announced a new game set within the Control and Alan Wake universe from Remedy. It is a new multiplayer game called FBC Firebreak. They showed off that along with more DLC news from the Alan Wake 2 DLC that's coming out. That game is expected out sometime in 2025. The DLC came out yesterday. Chronos, The New Dawn, is a new sci-fi horror game from Bloober Team. They just keep cranking out more and more horror games. Pirate Yakuza got a new trailer. That game comes out in February. Animal Well is a new platformer puzzle game and is now coming to Xbox. Blind Fire is a new team shooter game with that is in early access. Mouse PI for Hire is coming out next year, and that's a very Cuphead-like old school animation style game. The Legend of Babu is coming out next year, and you play as a protagonist and their dog Babu. It will be on Xbox and PC next year. Eden's Zero is a new game based on the manga by Hiro Mashima, and that comes out next year. Eternal Strands is another game coming early next year. It's an action game that will use fire, ice, and a giant sword in your fighting. Mistfall Hunter, another game for next year. It's another Souls-like. Wheel World, announced for early next year. It's a new bicycle racing game that's coming to Game Pass. Phasmophobia is coming to Xbox later this month. Is the popular online co-op game that's got very many horror elements. That comes out on the 29th. And Subnautica 2 was announced with early access coming in 2025. A new planet and co-op features are coming to the game. So that was everything announced at the Xbox Partner Showcase. Ahead of Friday's launch of Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Activision has unveiled a new user interface for Call of Duty, which is replacing the Call of Duty HQ, and it will allow you to access games much faster within Call of Duty, and you'll be able to launch into Black Ops 6 faster, Warzone faster. They got rid of their weird thing that was kind of broken if you ever tried to get into games. But now there will be a home tab which will feature Black Ops 6 and Warzone starting on Friday. And then there's an all games tab for all previous games. So the new UI, though, is available as of Monday, but you can get it with the pre-launch update, and things will evolve over time. But just be ready, Black Ops 6 launches on Friday. I'm excited. I'm going to be playing Call of Duty all weekend. Horizon Zero Dawn's remaster, we've gotten some news as to why it might be better than the original version of the game. They have added more NPCs to towns to make them feel more alive, and several other improvements. Yeah, they significantly boosted the number of non-playable characters, quote unquote, and that's from Guerrilla themselves. No more quests or story elements, but it does mean that it feels more alive, more livable, stuff like that. And they've added some other things. Wow, been 10 additional hours of motion capture data for various characters, and makes conversations more livelier and closer to those in Forbidden West. So, that's crazy. That's nice to hear. We'll see what happens ultimately. Certain Affinity, the team behind the last few Halo multiplayers and several other games, has been purchased. They also helped co-develop Hogwarts Legacy. Wait, what? They helped with the Hogwarts Legacy? Anyway, Certain Affinity, which is based in Texas, and it was created by Marcus Leto, who worked at Bungie, has been acquired by... they also helped work on the Perfect Dark reboot, has been acquired by Keywords Studios. Apparently they were actually working on a real Halo Battle Royale that got shelved. But Keywords announced that is purchasing Certain Affinity for an undisclosed sum. And this is 180 people across the U.S. and Canada working for Certain Affinity. And they've been working on several different games. Let me see. Max Hoberman started. Max Hoberman started Certain Affinity, not Marcus Leto. Marcus Leto is a different man from Bungie. But Certain Affinity will continue to be led by CEO Max Hoberman and President COO Paul Sams. And they join Exodus. Exodus is a game being made by Archetype Entertainment and Gala Games, all already part of they are already part of the Keyword Studios family, but they've been working with Halo since 2006 and Microsoft and things like that. So they made a map pack for Halo 2, if I'm not mistaken. This is the second studio that Keywords has bought this year. They also bought Wushu Studios in August, but they've been growing their portfolio of studios, IP, and things like that since 2014. They've purchased D3T, Heavy Iron Studios, Tantalus Media, Forgotten Empires. They've also purchased Hollywood production studios like Blind Light, 47 Communications, and others. They have 13,000 employees around the world. So they're a big outfit that are quietly amassing things that people don't always know about them in the background. But that is a big, big thing over there. Call of Duty's not even out yet. Black Ops 6 isn't even out yet. And we already have a rumor about where the future Call of Duty game will be set. Rumors now are swirling that next year's Call of Duty will be a sequel to Black Ops 2. So would this be Black Ops 7 or would this be Black Ops 2.5? And it will be set in the early 2030s. What? I mean, obviously the game's already in development, right? Details of a focus group have hit social media or leaked to social media, and Insider Gaming was able to corroborate this. Activision has declined to comment, but whatever this game ends up being called, it will be a direct sequel to Black Ops 2, which was set in 2025. This game is allegedly set in the 2030s. Black Ops 6, which comes out on Friday, is set in the 90s. So a lot of time jumping shenanigans here. But I'm very confused here. I don't know if I ever played Black Ops 2. I don't remember. And of course, Infinity Ward is working on their next Call of Duty game, which is due out sometime in 2026. So, wait, then who's making this game? Is it Raven? Because Treyarch made Black Ops 6. They've been working on it for 4 years, which is the longest development period of a mainline Call of Duty game. So, we'll see. We'll see, man. We'll see what happens. Spider-Man 2 had a special announcement. It's going to be hitting PC in January, and no DLC is coming for the game. No story DLC, which is kind of a letdown. I was hoping for more. The playtest Nintendo had earlier in the week for a new unannounced game, which they asked fans to not leak. Well, it leaked almost immediately. Real shocked here, people. Are you? I'm not. And was already trying to take down images literally within seconds of the playtest going live. And wow, they've already been pulled, but it was a MMO style game. But we don't know a whole lot other than the images that were leaked and then quickly taken down. We'll see ultimately what happens if that turns out to be real or not. Lego Horizons Horizon Adventures, which is a Lego version of Horizon Zero Dawn, has recast Sylens. Sylens is a character famously portrayed by Lance Reddick in Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West. After he passed away last March, obviously he wasn't able to voice the character again for Lego Horizon Adventures. And he's a main... I wouldn't call him an antagonist. I wouldn't call him a protagonist. But he's a major character in the games. And an ally to Aloy. But Sylens will appear in Lego Horizons Adventures. However, we don't know who he will be playing or who will be playing him. I wonder if this is the person then that will take over for him in the third Horizon game whenever that eventually comes out. Masahiro Sakurai, the man behind the Super Smash Bros. Games, who left gaming for a while to curate a YouTube channel, who announced he was leaving YouTube like forever ago at this point, has finally filmed his last YouTube video and has teased his next game. A new game, which is wild because he's only worked on Super Smash for the last 10 plus years. And on his Creating Games YouTube channel, in his final video, Sakurai revealed that he had received a video game development proposal in 2021 as he was finishing up Super Smash Bros. Ultimate on the Kazuya DLC. And production then began in earnest in April 2022. So it's been in the works for at least 2.5 years. And it should be announced sooner or later. Anything beyond that, nothing else is known. So that means he's been developing games and the YouTube channel in the same time. Does that mean it's another Super Smash game? I don't know. Not sure. Be interesting. Be interesting for sure. Ubisoft, after delaying Assassin's Creed Shadows, removing the Season Pass and Early Access, has announced that there will be a price cut for the Collector's Edition of Assassin's Creed Shadows. Because the Season Pass, like I said, is being removed, Early Access is being removed, and the game was delayed to next year, the formerly $280 Collector's Edition will now cost $230. It's still a whopping amount for a Collector's Edition. And, yeah, that's insane, man. It comes with a statue. I still wouldn't pay that much money. Netflix has announced they are closing down their AAA gaming studio, which they recently hired Joseph Staten for. Joseph Staten is the man behind all of the great Halo stories. The gaming studio, which Netflix recently set up here in Southern California, and was going to make several AAA-style games for them, is being shut down. Former executive producer of Overwatch, Chaco Son, and Joseph Staten, again one of the creative directors behind Halo, is leaving, as well as art director Rafael Grassetti, and he was the art director at Sony Santa Monica, and joined the Netflix studio in last year, which is crazy that this is already closed. It hasn't been open that long. Netflix, of course, is growing their game library, which is similar to Game Pass, but they also have a lot of games based on Netflix IP. But this is crazy that they're closing this. In July they announced they'd been in development of 80 different games. Clearly, one of their major ones is not being developed anymore. NCSoft, which is one of the biggest studios in the gaming world, a South Korean MMO development team. They may Throne in Liberty, Guild Wars 2, Lineage, have announced a massive restructure and a large round of layoffs. This is being reported by Yonhap, which is a South Korean news agency. NCSoft's CEOs Taek Jin Kim and Byung-Moo Park have blamed it on the financial troubles that the company's been going through, saying, quote, "We feel a deep sense of responsibility and offer an apology to all employees," unquote. The company was founded in 1997, headquartered in Seoul, and is now planning to develop new video games in the form of independent studios with different culture and processes instead of all being just NCSoft. It will be split into 4 divisions: NCAI, Studio X, Studio Y, and Studio G. But no word yet on what will happen with ArenaNet, the studio they own in Washington, that makes Guild Wars. Guild Wars 3 was thought to have been in development. However, more stuff is done on Guild Wars 2, so we don't know if 3 is coming out. No word on how many people will be laid off, but it will be coming to the company. NCSoft. Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, which is the most recent game in the Prince of Persia franchise, was a massive hit, but apparently not a big enough hit for Ubisoft, as expectations were not met, and Ubisoft has decided to disband the team. Luckily, though, they have not laid the team off. They've just shuffled them around to other projects around Ubisoft. This is a new report from French media outlet Origami, has been confirmed by Ubisoft as well, and which is, despite the game being received well by fans and critics, it didn't sell well enough. But luckily, like I said, the team was not fired or let go. They've just been shuffled around to work on new projects. This was done at Ubisoft Montpellier, and hundreds of people work at the studio. And now they've all been shifted, apparently most of them, to work on Beyond Good and Evil 2, which that game is somewhat vaporware, technically. Yeah, that's unfortunate. At least they're not fired. That's the big thing. The Day Before is dead once again. Fantastic has canceled its Kickstarter that they were trying to use to get The Day Before made again, which the Kickstarter has literally failed. But while canceling their Kickstarter and The Day Before, they've announced a new game. It will be called Escape Factory and is a physics-based multiplayer game. But, they asked for funding for that game in September. They've canceled that project, after they only got about 15.73% of their Kickstarter goal with $3,000. The Escape Factory project has been canceled, and they are now announcing a new game. But no Kickstarter was announced for this one. I think this company is fake, and I think people need to stop giving them money. That's what needs to happen. Fallout London is now one of the most successful mods in gaming history, as they've hit 1 million players. 1 million players playing a mod of Fallout 4 that mods the game into a version of London that exists within the Fallout world. It is a total conversion mod developed by Team Folon, again for Fallout 4. This is nuts. 1 million people. 1 million people. It's one of the most successful mods in gaming history. That's pretty cool, actually. Props to Team Folon. For the first time, the Xbox Series X is finally outselling the Xbox Series S. It just took 4 years. And it's a slim margin. Circana, which is a analytical company that tracks video game sales across consoles, games, things like that. The Xbox Series X now accounted for 58% of all total Xbox Series units sold in September and 51% of all Xbox Series units sold to date. The Series S used to be well ahead via court documents that were leaked last year during the lawsuit over the Activision purchase. That as of April 2022, 74.8% of Xbox Series owners owned an S and only 25% owned an X, which might be why Xbox is falling behind a bit. More people are playing on the S than they are. In 2023, the split was closer to 50-50 via Circana's Matt Piscatella and Nico Partners' Daniel Ahmad. But S still had the edge in the U.S., but now the X has pulled ahead. IGN spoke to Matt Piscatella, and he said this, quote, "Few things happening here as opposed to earlier in the cycle when S was leading. Of course, we have to start with supply. Series S was more widely available during 2020-22, with X only getting fully in stock a few years after launch due to looks at everything 2020 to 2022. Then we also have console buyers in general shifting to a slightly older audience with higher average household income than we saw early in this generation, which would suggest that perhaps price sensitivity may be a bit lower now than it was previously. There are likely several other contributing factors, but these are the two I'd put on the top of my list. Overall, though, spending in September was down 44% year over year across all hardware, in its lowest point since 19. Xbox hardware sales were down 54%, PlayStation down 45%, and Nintendo Switch down 23%. The PS5 was the best seller in both unit and dollar sales. 40% of PS5 unit sales in September and 18% of all PS5 sales life to date were digital. And the PlayStation Portal was the best-selling accessory of the month, with 3% of all PS5 owners in the U.S. having bought one, unquote. But yeah. And Dead Rising has risen into the top 20 of best-selling games, from 502 to 11. That's nuts. You release a remaster, and there you go. We've also learned a little bit more about the Ubisoft team, as it hints at a new Rayman game is being developed. So some of the developers from Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown went on to work on Beyond Good and Evil 2. They've also been shifted to work on the next Ghost Recon game, as well as a new Rayman remake. Yes, a Rayman remake, along with a new Rayman game. Ubisoft has announced that they're exploring a new game in the franchise with creator Michael Ansel involved as well. A remake of the original, that would be nice. In a statement sent to Kotaku, oh look at Ubisoft and Kotaku are playing nice again. They said, quote, "We are pleased to confirm Ubisoft Montpellier and Ubisoft Milan have recently started an exploration phase on the Rayman brand. The project is still in its early stages, and we will share more details later, unquote. So, this is interesting because Michael Ansel left Ubisoft in 2020 and was leaving the games industry as a whole. So, then he said that wasn't true. Then he was under investigation. That was also not true. We'll see what happens, though. It's been more than a decade since the last Rayman game came out, which was in 2013 with Rayman Legends. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Today was, I guess, Fallout Day. That's when everybody leaves, or that's when the bombs fell, I guess. The Great War started and ended on October 23rd, 2077. Nuclear weapons devastated the world in Fallout lore. So Bethesda decided to have a Fallout Day broadcast. Nothing major was announced in regards to the next game in the series. But that's all they talked about was more news for Fallout 76, their MMO. But they talked about the bump in players after the show came out. Over 20 million players now. And Fallout 76 is now playable for free until October 29th as part of Free Play Week. They also announced some new features for Fallout 76, like camp pets, a cat and a dog. You can pet them, but that's really... You can also dress them and stuff like that. You can add player titles, and then endgame players will get a new raid and things like that. And then you'll also be able to play as ghouls. So that was announced today. Blizzard also announced that they are going to be holding a 30th anniversary direct for the Warcraft franchise. Warcraft, of course, turns 30 this year. Warcraft's been around for 30 years? That's crazy. On November 13th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, they will hold a direct, and what they said will include, quote, something for everyone, unquote. For old school fans to real-time strategy fans as well. Ooh, a new RTS? That'll be nice. Warcraft Rumble and Hearthstone will also be featured in the stream, and it will come in lieu of a BlizzCon that was canceled earlier this year. No new games are expected to be announced, at least in the normal Warcraft. They doesn't seem like they're working on any RTSs, actually. So that's kind of shitty. You guys need to go back to making RTSs, bro. Anyway. And, Beyond Good and Evil 2, like we said, is not dead, as we've learned at Ubisoft. After losing their creative director, who passed unexpectedly last year, a new creative director has been installed by Ubisoft. Fawzi Mesmer is taking the reins of the game, which I still think is kind of vaporware at this point. But the Emile Morel, who was the former creative director of the game, like I said, suddenly passed away last year, unexpectedly, at the age of 40. But I forget what happened to him. Mesmer has been in the games industry for over 20 years, so he did work with the Montpellier team on Beyond Good and Evil 2 already. He had collaborated with them, but now he'll be the creative director, and he was friends with Emile Morel as well. But he was the head of design at DICE between 2019 and 2021. He was the vice president of global creative at Ubisoft earlier this year. But now he will lead Beyond Good and Evil 2, as people are hoping it will come out soon. But that's it really for gaming. Not a whole lot, but a lot of good stuff too. Let's head up the 5 freeway and see what's going on up in Hollywood, shall we? All right, well, Marvel's hard at work, of course. On Spider-Man 4, we've now learned. Tom Holland has already read the script, and he said it lit a fire under him. That makes me excited. In an interview with the Rich Roll podcast, he said, quote, "We have a creative, and we have a pitch and a draft, which is excellent. It needs work, but the writers are doing a great job. I read it 3 weeks ago, and it really lit a fire under me. Zendaya and I sat down and read it together, and we at times were bouncing around the living room like this is a real movie worthy of the fans' respect," unquote. So right after we learned that, we've now learned that Spider-Man 4 is officially in development. Tom Holland is in it, and it begins filming early next year. Mid next year in summer. Tom Holland is confirmed. That and he was on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon saying, quote, "It's happening," unquote. He also said, quote, "Next summer we start shooting. Everything's good to go. We're nearly there. It's super exciting. I can't wait," unquote. That is awesome. He also said he wants to bring in Miles Morales. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. We don't know yet. But Spider-Man 4 is a go, which I'm guessing is probably going to come out sometime in 2026. Netflix is promising more projects in 2025 due to the strikes causing a very light load in 2024. They essentially admitted that it made an impact on the number of shows and films it was able to produce this past year. In a Q3 earnings release, in a shareholder letter, the company said, quote, "Our 2024 programming has been patchier than normal due to last year's strikes, but our volume has picked up again, and we're excited for what's ahead," unquote. Yeah, well, maybe put out some good shit, Netflix. Ted Sarandos then also put out a statement, the CEO of Netflix, saying, quote, "In the first half of this year, our lineup was much lumpier than we've liked, and it's primarily because of the work stoppage. It did hit UCAN, US, Canada, the hardest, but there were some effects of that felt in production around the world. We're moving closer and closer to a more normalized output schedule now. Series are more on track than film, but neither are fully recovered. We've had returning favorites like Bridgerton that managed to get out into the first half of the year, but many of our other high-profile returning hits like Cobra Kai, Emily in Paris, Outer Banks, and even our new shows like Perfect Couple and Nobody Wants This were scheduled for much earlier in the year and got kind of delayed into Q3, and that delay was again because of the strike and its impact on UCAN slate. By the end of Q3, a lot more normalized, as you see. Our film slate obviously was impacted as well, and it's getting back to normal in 2025, we're largely back to normal," unquote. So there you have it. If you wondered what was going on with Netflix, it's because, hey, there were strikes. New York Comic-Con was this past weekend, and Marvel showed off some of its new upcoming faces in a giant Marvel poster at the con. And they showed off Red Hulk, Daredevil's new look, Herbie the robot from Fantastic Four, and it was a giant art piece feature of Marvel new looks. And speaking of Comic-Con, why don't we go over all the major news that came out of it? So at New York Comic-Con, we got a new trailer and a release date for Dune Prophecy, the prequel Dune series about the Bene Gesserit, set 10,000 years before the Dune movies, and it's still in the future. Will premiere on November 17th on Max. We got a new trailer for Creature Commandos, showing off Cersei and Clayface, two more Batman villains. That show premieres December 5th on Max. The Spider-Man 2 PC release date, no story content announced. We got Official news for secret level cast, including Keanu, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Kevin Hart, and more, were officially announced. Tamara Morrison, Ariana Greenblatt, Emily Swallow, Gabriel Luna, Ricky Whittle, Claudio Dumit, Patrick Schwarzenegger, Laura Bailey, and more were all confirmed. Sony showed off the first 7 minutes of Kraven the Hunter. The director is teasing that more Marvel characters will pop up beyond Kraven and Rhino as well. I don't know how that works. Daredevil Born Again was given an official March release date. Still no trailer, unfortunately, which kind of sucks. I don't know why we don't have an official release date. We also got news from DC Comics that Batman Hush is getting a comic sequel, and Vertigo Comics is returning after a few years away. Let me see what else we got going on. Some good stuff here, Eddie Brock will be the new Carnage after Venom War in the comics. A new Star Wars comic series set before The Phantom Menace was announced. Blumhouse has revealed a new trailer for its Wolfman movie, as well as a first look at Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Doctor Doom becomes the Emperor of the Marvel Universe. Funko revealed new collectibles. Let me see. There's more comic stuff. I don't want to talk about that too much. The future of Dragon Ball video games was announced, and some other things. But those were essentially the major news out of New York Comic Con. We've learned that in any new Lord of the Rings movie that may come out, Gandalf will be heavily involved, especially after the Hunt for Golem film. Philippa Boyens has told Empire, she's the screenwriter of Lord of the Rings and the upcoming movie, Gandalf could potentially return for both confirmed live-action films, as well as the one that's coming after the Hunt for Golem. We don't know what the second one will be. Nothing is locked in. Philippa said, quote, "We're playing around with a number of ideas, but most of those ideas do include Gandalf, so Gandalf would potentially return for 2 live-action films," unquote. Ian McKellen is down to return. He is getting old, so if they do make another one, you got to do it right away so that he can be Gandalf at least one more time. Another American Psycho film is in the works, but not necessarily a reboot. Lionsgate is in negotiations with Luca Guadagnino to direct the new version. But it won't be a remake of the Christian Bale film, but it will be a new adaptation of the 1991 novel by Bret Easton Ellis. But it will be written by Scott Z. Burns, and we'll see what happens ultimately with the film. Obviously, you can't make it about an investment banker anymore, but who knows? In the absolutely strangest news I have heard in quite a while, Alien Romulus will be getting a VHS release. Yes, you heard me correctly. A VHS. Yes, the tape VHS that once dominated the home theater market of the 80s and 90s and somewhat of the 70s before DVDs took over. A fully functioning VHS tape was created in celebration of the 45th anniversary of the legendary Alien franchise, per a release by Fox. It's still coming to 4K Ultra HD, Blu-ray, and DVD on December 3rd. No word on the pricing of the VHS, but if you don't have a VCR, good luck. Yeah, I don't know. Amazon has announced that the Stephen King story Carrie, famously a movie from the 80s, will be getting an 8-episode adaptation on the streaming service. Tom Hardy is not backing away fully from playing Venom once again. Venom The Last Dance comes off on Friday, of course. And Tom Hardy, in an interview, said he's open to playing Eddie and Venom again. Saying, quote, "I've loved every moment of Eddie and Venom, and I was really fond of them. I'd play them any time, because there's a special place that exists within me to want to operate those two characters wherever you put them in whatever capacity. I feel like a sense of obligation and responsibility and duty of care to those two that will never end. I'll always be with them." Unquote. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. We'll see how that goes. Elon Musk and Warner Brothers are being sued over potential theft of artwork. Alcon Entertainment, the company behind Blade Runner 2049, but isn't Warner Brothers behind Blade Runner? And anyway, are suing Elon Musk, Tesla, and Warner Brothers, claiming, quote, "massive economic theft," unquote. Elon shared an AI-generated image that was similar to Blade Runner 2049, promoting his new robo-taxi self-driving car. And the complaint is referring specifically to an image that appeared during Elon's keynote, showing how Tesla wanted to show avoiding a dystopian future like the one from the film. He did mention Blade Runner, things like that. Alcon, who is the production company behind 2049, claims that Tesla asked permission to use an, quote, "an iconic still image," unquote, from the movie, but was refused permission, and Tesla then used AI to create a fake image based on the movie anyway. I don't know. I don't know if that will go anywhere. Star Wars Skeleton Crew, the next Star Wars live-action television show, which is set to premiere later this year, is bringing back a character from Ewoks: The Battle of Endor. If you're wondering what Ewoks: The Battle of Endor is, well, it was Lucasfilm's first attempt at live-action spin-offs of Star Wars from 1985. It's honestly one of the worst things I've ever watched. Please do not watch it. You'll be wasting your time and your eyes. But it was a straight-to-TV movie and featured Ewoks as they fought creatures on Endor and people crash-landed and things like that. Well, a character from the movie will be returning to official Star Wars canon, because those movies are not canon at all, if you didn't know that. They're bringing back a character called Teak, which is a creature that was in the movie. Which, of all people to bring back, of all creatures, it's actually a creature, it's not a character, it's a creature. Yeah. Like, of all things to go from Star Wars Legends to canon, I just, come on, guys. Come on. The new Harry Potter show that's going to serve as a reboot of the franchise, coming to from Warner Brothers and to HBO, is apparently going to explore more of the wizarding world than the movies ever did. Speaking to The Hollywood Reporter, Warner Brothers Television Group Chairman and CEO Channing Dungey saying, quote, "There's not a lot to talk about yet. We've got our fantastic writing staff in place, and they are doing what they need to do. And casting calls have opened up in the UK and Ireland, so the process is moving along. It's going quite well. It's an unbelievable dream, honestly. And as somebody who is a huge fan of books, the opportunity to get to explore them in maybe a little bit more in depth than you can in just a 2-hour film, that's the whole reason we're on this journey," unquote. I still don't know why they're doing that. I don't think people really want it. Marvel has announced that Blade has been indefinitely delayed and moved out of their 2025 project slate. To quote a Wesley Snipes version of Blade, "Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill." This movie is never going to get made. It really won't. And I feel bad for Mahershala Ali, because I think he would have been an amazing Blade. But this movie is not. ever coming out. Let's be realistic here. They're replacing it with Predator Badlands in its place. New untitled Marvel movies have release dates now: February 2028, May 2028, November 2028. But Blade, like Wesley said in Deadpool and Wolverine, there's only ever going to be one Blade. And he even put on Twitter, quote, "Blade, lordy, 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 folks, still looking for the secret sauce, riding snowmobiles in traffic, kind of rough. Daywalkers make it look easy, don't they?" Unquote. Yeah, guys, no, that movie's not getting made. Let's just be realistic, okay? Beef, the surprising hit from Netflix, is getting a second season. Second season, though, however, will star Oscar Isaac and Carey Mulligan. That's going to go into production soon. And then Chad Stileski has given more information about the upcoming John Wick anime project. It will be an anime movie that will explore John Wick's past. In speaking with the Hollywood Reporter, the director said, quote, "He is knee-deep in development on a feature anime," unquote. And then it will be a prequel, saying, quote, "We can be a little more crazy and nutty in the anime, and we can be a lot more explicit in our storytelling and world building on the TV show. So those are exciting to us without seeming repetitive, and that's where we're putting our energies right now," unquote. There's also another John Wick TV series, Under the High Table, coming up as well. I'm stoked on an anime film. I don't know about you guys. And then final bit of gaming or movie news here and TV news. The Legend of Vox Machina will be getting a fourth season at Amazon Prime Video. The show, based on Critical Role, will go into production soon. The third season premieres its finale very soon. And it will continue to adapt the Critical Role Dungeons & Dragons campaign. No other news on Season 4 beyond that. But that is it for Nick's Nerd News this week. Thank you guys for listening week in, week out. And don't forget to go to nicksnerdnews.com. Give us a follow on socials. And I will catch you guys on the flip side.
This has been a production of Nick's Nerd News. Please do not use without implicit faxed permission. And yes, that means with a fax machine. Thank you.